Mississippi is asking the Supreme Court to overrule Roe v. Wade in the court's next term. The Supreme Court justices are already set to review Mississippi's ban on nearly all abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Roe v. Wade prohibits states from banning abortion before fetal viability, which is around 24 weeks. So for more on this, join us now East Bay Congresswoman Barbara Lee. She is also the co-chair of the Congressional Pro-Choice Caucus. And Congresswoman Lee, thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about what's happening in Mississippi. I can't say it's a surprise. Ever since we've been talking about the Supreme Court and the appointments on the Supreme Court, the issue of Roe v. Wade and how it would be impacted has been the discussion. What's your thoughts on what's happening in Mississippi?
Sure, these abortion bans are becoming extreme, and so I'm glad that you asked me about this. Thank you very much. First of all, it is so important to recognize that the right to reproductive freedom is basic. It's a constitutional right that has been established through Roe versus Wade. And there are those in this country who want to impose their values and their perspectives, and elected officials especially want to restrict women's right to reproductive freedom. And so what is taking place is throughout the states, they're imposing these extreme bans. And now finally, the Supreme Court has decided to hear the Mississippi case, which is very dangerous, because if the Mississippi case is ruled against Roe versus Wade, then women are going to be left once again with not having the right to control their own bodies. And so this is very dangerous, and we've got to fight back. I co-chair the Pro-Choice Caucus. We're doing everything we can do to try to stop any erosion of Roe versus Wade, because now so many states have already taken away a woman's right to reproductive choices, which includes abortion.
Congresswoman Lee, you mentioned other states. I mean, we know Texas also passed a law basically arguing the same thing. The Mississippi filing, though, it says it says, quote, the conclusion that abortion is a constitutional right has no basis in text, structure, history, or tradition. And I think the reason that people are obviously watching this so closely is that if the Supreme Court holds that up, then we'll see all those other states that have passed these laws or trying to pass these laws have now standing legally to keep going with this. How worried are you that the Supreme Court will go with that argument?
Well, of course, the public and all the polling data shows that the public does not agree that women's rights, reproductive rights, should be restricted. And so elections, unfortunately, we see the consequences of a Donald Trump presidency with his Supreme Court justices now. And this is exactly what the right wing has been trying to do for years. So we are fighting, and we're hoping, and we're presenting our arguments in court that a woman's right to reproductive freedom is a basic right that should be upheld in the Constitution. Because yes, these states, they're moving to ban restrictions on a full range of reproductive health care, including abortion. So we have to be very vigilant, and we have to fight like you would not believe to stop the Supreme Court from overturning Roe versus Wade.
There will be the legal fights in these specific cases. Do you think there's going to be more pressure to change the Supreme Court? There was talk about that. Add justices, change some of the dynamics. Do you support that?
Well, it's got to change. We've got to figure out how to have a Supreme Court that really stands up for the rights, all rights of each and every human being in this country. Right now, we have a Supreme Court that oftentimes is dictated by the right wing, personal points of views, religious points of views imposed upon the general public. So it's not right.
Certainly, I mean, it's gone.
A Supreme Court that is objective and that balances all of the issues of equal rights under the law for everyone.
Certainly, it's gone back and forth, though, in terms of how many more liberal versus conservative justice. But yes or no to more justices? Do you have a position, or are you still thinking about it?
Well, I'm looking at it, and I'm leaning toward thinking we do need to have a more balanced Supreme Court that should not be politicized at the whims of whoever is the president. And so we've got to have some type of reforms where everyone in this country is treated equally under the law.
Okay, certainly we could talk about this for a long time, but I do want to get to the January 6th issue and the insurrection. No bipartisan committee this week. That was the big development. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she didn't want to appoint Jim Jordan from Ohio or Jim Banks from Indiana. She can do that as Speaker to say, hey, I don't want those two Republicans on the panels. But now you basically have two forming, one Democrat panel and one Republican. What do you think about that development?
Well, the Speaker was absolutely correct. We have to get to the bottom of what took place on January 6th, because what took place on January 6th was a close threat to the dismantling of our democracy to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. I was sitting on the floor right in front of the podium on January 6th, and I tell you, it was a harrowing experience. And those who say that this was no difference from a tourist tour, they're outrageous. And so Nancy Pelosi, our speaker, needs to have a committee that is going to get to the bottom of this, to the truth of what took place, so it will never happen again. Now, remember, we had a bipartisan commission that we took all of the suggestions from the Republicans. This would have been an independent, outside bipartisan commission. None of the Republicans voted for it in the Senate. And so you see what is taking place. We have to do something. And so the speaker is absolutely correct. We have to focus. We have to keep moving. And Chairman Benny Thompson is a very fair, objective chairman. I know him very well. And whatever the Republicans do, that's their thing. We know where they are. But we cannot deny what took place January 6th. We have to get to the bottom of it, because our democracy is very fragile right now, and it could happen anytime again.
The challenge I see with this, though, right, people will agree we have a divided nation, divided Congress, and coming out of this, a bipartisan agreement would have been, a bipartisan commission would be that whatever side you're on, that you have a representative saying, yeah, this is what's going on, because there's certainly some people, you know, who can't find agreement on what happened on January 6th, that it was an insurrection and that the Capitol was stormed. So coming out of this, any chance they're going to come to the same conclusion that will get the nation on the same page to say, yes, this was wrong, this is how we move forward? Because, I mean, certainly the courts were seeing, you know, the first people who were arrested now getting some jail time, and the courts are trying to figure out, working their way through, you know, all the people that have been identified and arrested. So where does, you know, the cost come when there's not a bipartisan commission?
Look, the facts speak for themselves. The whole world saw what took place on January 6th. And so you cannot have a select committee where people deny the facts. You have to start with some basic truths about what took place. Then you conduct your investigation. But to have individuals on and there are many Republicans who could have been nominated to that select committee, who at least accept the fact that January 6th was an attempt to topple our democracy. It's very clear that they did end up killing people. People died. Over 150 police officers, Capitol police officers were injured, some very seriously. They came to assassinate the vice president. They came to assassinate Speaker Pelosi. They came to kill members of Congress. They came to kill staff, whoever was in their way. And so this is a basic fact that took place. And so for Republicans, anyone, to deny these facts, you can't have a committee, select committee that's objective, that's trying to get to the truth, if in fact you believe that this did not happen.
All right, Congressman Barbara Lee, thank you so much for joining us this morning here on Mornings on 2. Certainly a lot to talk about and a lot of work to be done ahead. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, time now is 9:18, and it is time now to